Well, everybody, let's talk about Total War. I am a massive fan of the series. I've brought every single game they've released until they started doing spin offs, and I found them to be a bit too lightweight for me, so I just started avoiding them. But I have been a massive fan, and the first one didn't work right for me, Shogun, so I couldn't really get into it. I had to wait till Medieval came out. Then I modded the hell out of that. I had links, you know, on the official site to my site. That's how my site got really popular originally. My Respawn site was because of medieval Total War links from the official site back to the fan site, and they really boosted my site as a factor. Basically, I mean, people coming to my site for mods that didn't exist. I was the first one to make campaigns for the medieval Total War game, for example. And I get the impression until I did it, nobody had even considered doing it. But after that, people were making hugely better mods. They were doing, one of them did a Rome mod, just blew my work out the water. So I hosted it on my site. It was an outstanding mod, and I think it led directly to the Rome Total War mod. So the author, well, Rome Total War game. So the author probably was responsible for inspiring the team to make that game. But I was quite proud to be in a small way, part of that, hosting mainly. But anyway, says yeah, I've been good. My history with Total War goes back a long, long way. Predates Oblivion and Bethesda quite considerably. Predates Mech Warrior quite considerably. So well, not quite considerably, but a little bit. Right, but anyway, yeah. See, so I've always liked it, but I'm not a fool, right? I see the direction they're taking it in, and I know they made a major boob between Total War One and Total War Two in the way they handled it all. They should have fixed one. They didn't. They decided to sell a new game with the fixes instead. That was a bad move. That was quite an underhanded move, and I know some people don't agree with me on my Total War Three thoughts, right? But quite frankly, I disagree with them on that one. So we'll have to agree to disagree. But it's okay to disagree. You don't feel you need to agree with me all the time. Quite frankly, yes men don't get much respect from me, right? I prefer people have honest opinions, and at least some people have honest opinions about that, and that's a good thing. Anyway, um, the games are still good, and to be honest, the Warhammer games are some of the best Total War games they've released. They always boil down to a few simple rules when you're playing Total War. Do you have the high ground? Then you get a morale boost, and the opponent gets a morale penalty for charging uphill. Are you being attacked from a hidden position? You get a morale penalty for that. Are you outnumbered? You get a morale penalty. Things like that. And eventually the morale modifiers stack up. But once they hit 12, they used to cap it at that. They'd never let it go higher than that. But 12 was pretty much an instant rout for most normal troops. The flags would start flashing white and they'd run away. So if you were to attack downhill from a hidden position at an enemy's rear, that would be the maximum morale penalty you could hope for, right? And they would just run away. But all the games have used that basic principle. So you could beat a vastly superior army with that knowledge. And that same trick, by the way, also works in Bannerlords and Warbands. That's Mountain Blade Bannerlords and Mountain Blade Warbands. It works in that as well, so they've got something similar. I'm not too sure how similar it is, but it does work. Anyway, yeah. So Warhammer's really good, and I think what makes the Warhammer special, the game special, other than the fact I like Games Workshop stuff, right, is the fact that each race is a lot more unique than any previous game allowed a race to be or said to be. Woodhouse, for instance, have a completely own custom tree. So do the Vampire Coast. So does Vampires, the Vampire Lords areas and stuff like that. That all, in fact, you've got like Tomb Kings. Every race is vastly different. You learn a new race. You're learning a new game, and basically it's fun. It means you never tire of it. I'm still playing Total War 2, you know, because it's got all the DLCs I like. I'm kind of hoping that the DLCs from 1 and 2 are working free as well, even though I criticised that method because it should have been a new game. Right, but I do hope it works because, quite frankly, it was a really, really good idea, right, to do that, given the fact they didn't fix the original. They should have just fixed the original. That way, when there is a new game, they could have updated all the units, you know, improved the graphics, the fighting, animations, all kinds of stuff, and re-released them again. And that might have been a bit cheeky, given the fact DLCs were expensive, but you only buy the DLCs you actually are interested in. You don't buy them all. I'm not very little interest in Skaven, for example, so I don't buy much Skaven. There's Orcs, for instance. I used to be into Orcs, but not anymore, so I don't buy any Orc DLCs. So it's cheap when you buy what you focus on. It's not like Pokemon, you've got to collect them all. You don't. I'm sure the company would love you to collect them all, but you don't. You just don't. Focus on the ones you really like. You spend all your time playing just them. And the other sides are already in the game anyway. You just need the DLC to unlock them. Anyway, point is, right, all these DLCs and stuff add so much variety and depth to the game. And every time you got to replay it, you've got to learn a whole new side. Some people might think that's a pain. I actually quite enjoy it. It takes me a few games to master, you know, a side. I'm just learning the Tomb King side, and they're in a really difficult position. You know, initially with, in fact, all their starts are in a really difficult positions. So it's a hard one to get started on. Sometimes I think the start positions are throwaway start positions designed to be conquered earlier by bigger sides. But anyway, but my favourite so far by far is the Vampire Coast, and they're quite weak early on. You really need to buff up the gunners and the standard troops before they start doing well. But once they do start doing well, they're really effective. I like the Wood Elves as well. The Wood Elves got a great campaign. The area they start in, the main one, I'm not that keen on. Right? I might try some of the throwaway locations, as we say, because they've got locations surrounded by vampires and other things. They don't really stand a chance, but they do manage to survive for some reason for a long time. But some of the start locations aren't that great. But that was the problem with the first one. The start locations, the limited number of sites. You had, I think it's orcs, dwarfs, a few other things, and there was about 4 sides, and I think that's what they were describing in Warhammer 3. When that's about, you know, Total War's a much bigger game than that. You end up playing the same campaign the same way. And I go, oh, this is why I don't like it. I didn't like the first one for the same reason. As soon as they added Mortal Empires, that was it. I was off. I started to do my own thing. I don't agree with the objectives they assign new sides in the game. For instance, as Vampire Coast, you've got to basically capture areas all over the map. You couldn't possibly, you know, defend them, you know, because you're too far away from half of them. They're literally all the corners of the map you've got to catch. But it's like, how is that supposed to work? You know, that's one of the sides. I mean, it's just, I don't think it's possible. You'd have to conquer the whole map and subjugate whole areas to make that one area safe. But other areas have it a bit easier. They just, if you're in the corner, then you just conquer this bit at the bottom, you know, and maybe one over here. And that's a little bit easier. So you've got to pick the lords you select, the lords you want to play with, because if you get the wrong one, it's an impossible game. Anyway, it says the overall though, Total War is the best. Warhammer is the best Total War game, I think. And even though they've mishandled the releases, it is still one of the best games. And if it wasn't for the fact that Mortal Empires wasn't included in free, I would have had it this week. 50 quid or not, because I have an aversion to paying £50 for most games, so I tend not to buy at that price. Even though I can afford it these days, I don't want to spend 50 quid on a computer game. Although I would probably get my money back on Total War, almost certainly would. But yeah, it's one of the best Total War games, and I do recommend it. But I think you do have to be aware of the many ways in which the companies and the developers rip you off, because they will try and rip you off. This is why I usually bookmark all the DLCs I'm interested in, put them on my wish list on Steam, and the second they appear on sale, I buy them. And I've not gone wrong. I've got quite a lot of DLCs now. I'm only missing ones from the races I've no interest in. So that's worked out for me. I did the same with the game itself, Total War 2. I waited till it went on discount, then did it there, and I haven't regretted it. Although, to be honest, I might buy this next one full price if Immortal Empires is added soon. If it's not, I might just forget about it for a year and then go and buy it. Anyhow, it is a recommended series. It is. It's one of the stars of the PC gaming world, especially if you like me, you like strategy games. So yeah, it is definitely a recommended game, and I'm not in any way trying to put people off buying it. I'm just saying be careful when you do buy it, use your noddle, because the company are a little bit dodgy when it comes to reselling the same thing twice or three times. But it is worth it. It is worth it. Do the next one.